Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster, and today we want to introduce my co-host. First up, he's known as Mr. Bowflex, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Everybody loved that yesterday. There's all kind of retweets on you, and the ladies were all really, really excited about it from what I heard.
That's good. Better than the alternative.
Oh, you're homophobic. All right.
No, come on.
Next up, we got somebody worse than homophobic. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and he's a beat writer for the NFL, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on today.
All right. So, I mean, it seems like anytime Anthony's on, the Dallas Cowboys sign somebody. They signed Aldon Smith. Is that a big deal, Anthony?
No, and yes. I think Aldon Smith, he's been, I looked into this. He's been clean for about 9 months. I know Jay Glazer has a relationship with him and is saying that this is the best he's been personally in a very long time. Aldon Smith, when he came out, was a premier pass rusher. And I think Jerry Jones is taking a shot here because they need somebody on the other side of DeMarcus Lawrence. They lost Quinn. And if Aldon Smith works out, I know Jim Tomsulo was his coach in San Francisco. This could be a really good thing for Dallas, but this is a player who has not been reinstated. I don't know if he's played a game in a couple of years. And they also have Randy Gregory hanging over their head. So you have two top-end pass rushers who are not even eligible to play.
All right. Sam, what do you think?
I think this is an instance of a high potential but low cost because they signed him to a 1-year deal with $4 million. So this is not going to cost you a lot of money. And like Anthony said, if this works out, it could be a potential plus. I am skeptical, though, because he hasn't played in an NFL game since 2015. And he hasn't played in more than 10 games since 2013. So it's been quite a while for him. He's been out of the league for, well, at this point, half a decade. So I'm not sure what we're going to get out of him. He's 30 years old. So he's still fairly young. He can still put up some good numbers, but I mean, I'm not holding out hope that he's going to turn back into what he once was.
Well, my guess is he hadn't played in 5 years, Anthony, so I don't think this is probably going to work out too well.
I mean, Darren Waller was in a similar situation with the whole addiction thing, and he kind of fell out of the NFL, and he got himself a big-time contract last year.
Yeah, he did, but how old's Darren Waller? Is he 30?
Isn't he close?
He's 27.
Yeah, 27 and 30, big difference in the NFL, though.
I mean, they didn't pay him a lot. If he doesn't play, this is a low-risk, high-reward move.
Oh, I agree with that, but if you pay him anything, I think that it's a little bit nuts.
Really, nobody else is going to take a shot on Aldon Smith. It's Jim Tomsulo, and, let's hope it works. Let's hope it works for him personally more than football, really.
Well, I think when we look at this, I think the fact that only Jerry Jones will take a chance on him would tell me it's probably not going to work out too well, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, like we said, it's been half a decade since he's been in the league, and no one else has tried to bring him back. And he's had multiple issues. He's had a lot of chances already as well. So this is a guy who's really on his last legs in terms of his pro career. This is his last opportunity.
Oakland tried bringing him back recently.
Yeah, and how'd that work out?
Not good.
Yeah.
Some guys, it takes longer to get it, if they ever do get it, when you're talking about any type of addiction or alcohol.
Yeah, and what was his addiction?
Think alcohol.
Alcohol? Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Tyrod Taylor situation in Los Angeles with the Chargers, because they've been saying that he's going to be the starting quarterback. But Anthony Lynn now seems like maybe he's looking at Cam Newton, Sam.
Yeah, which is a very interesting situation. I know there was a social media post a little while ago of Cam Newton and Tyrod Taylor working out. But it's a very weird move for me. I thought the Chargers were going to draft a quarterback, and they might still do that, but looking at what they have right now, but the difference between Tyrod Taylor and a rookie quarterback and Cam Newton at this point, I don't know if there's that huge of a difference, realistically, because Cam Newton might not be able to do all the stuff he used to do where he ran around, things like that. And Tyrod Taylor is a guy who hasn't taken a lot of hits recently. He's healthy. You know, he still has mobility, and he's been to the playoffs before. So this is a guy who can win football games for you. So if you're planning for the future, I just found it very strange that you would bring Cam Newton instead of focusing on potentially drafting a quarterback and trying to work with him and Tyrod Taylor.
Why can't you draft a quarterback?
Because I think this is a huge risk if you bring Cam in.
You think it's a big risk?
I think it's a big risk because they've been saying Tyrod Taylor is their starter. They're set up to pick a quarterback if they want. But if you really believe Tyrod Taylor is that good, why would you even entertain this thought? Because Cam Newton, I mean, for lack of better terms right now, is damaged goods.
We don't know what Cam Newton is right now. 2018, he had a career high completion percentage. He was a better quarterback that year. He can still run around, but if you're not going to get that Cam, if you're not going to get a 100% healthy Cam, then I'd much rather have Tyrod Taylor at this point. But if you can tell me I'm going to get 2018 Cam, then why not?
I would take Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor is better than what people think he is.
I like Tyrod. But Tyrod is not on a healthy Cam Newton's level. He's just not.
What do you think, Sam?
Well, I'll say this. I think Cam Newton, the 2018 version of Cam Newton, is a little bit of an outlier because that's the first, well, only the second time he's completed more than 61% of his pass attempts in his career. If you do get that version of Newton, I think that is better than what Tyrod Taylor can bring at his peak. But at the same point, I do think Tyrod Taylor has more consistency, in my opinion, and he's got a higher chance of playing all 16 games. So if you're looking for a little bit more stability, I think Tyrod Taylor's the way to go. But if you're in a win now mode, I think Cam Newton. But looking at what they're doing right now, I mean, really, it's going to be not this year, but next year, in my opinion, is when they're going to have the best chance to start winning games and potentially compete for a Super Bowl.
Well, how close do you think overall team-wise, Anthony, are they to being a playoff team? Not just take the quarterback situation out. When you look at the rest of the team, are they close? Are they a playoff team in your estimation?
The roster, to me, is still a top 5 roster in the league.
All right, so my point is this. With Tyrod Taylor, there are less questions. With Cam Newton, the injury he had, a lot of guys don't come back from it. So I think Tyrod Taylor is a guy that can win you a championship even if you put the players around him. I would equate him to the Andy Dalton type of guy. He's not a top 5 or top 10 quarterback, but if you put the guys around him, he can win. And I think that how about this? With what's going on here, we don't know how long a training camp there's going to be. Hell, we don't know if there's going to be a season right now. But with that being said, Tyrod Taylor, he's been there, right, for a while. I mean, he's been looking at a playbook.
I mean, he knows the system from Buffalo, right? He was with Anthony Lynn in Buffalo.
And that's what I'm saying. So if you've got a shortened preseason, which you're already going to have anyways, I mean, for Cam, because right now, Cam, we're almost, 3 or 4 weeks into free agency, he hadn't been signed anywhere. So to me, I really think Tyrod Taylor is their best chance to win right away just because of the familiarity with the offense. Because if you look at the Chargers offense, which used to be the Bills offense, number one, Tyrod played really well in it. Number two, if you look at the Carolina Panthers offense, it's completely different from what the Buffalo Bills do. Sam?
You know, I agree. I think he has that familiarity, and they have the weapons there. It's not like they don't have offensive pieces. They made some good moves for the offensive line. They brought in Brian Bulaga. They traded for Trey Turner, so they're fixing the offensive line. And you bring back Hunter Henry on the franchise tag. You bring back Austin Eckler with a new contract. You already have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there. So you've got the offensive pieces there. I think regardless of what quarterback you get, whether it's Justin Herbert, Tyrod Taylor, Cam Newton, I think you're going to have success offensively. It's just a question of who do you believe is going to be there for you the most often, who's going to be the most consistent guy. And I think right now the way I view it is Cam Newton and Jameis Winston probably won't be starters come week 1 in the NFL season.
Anthony, you agree with that?
I can see Cam if he ends up in with the Los Angeles Chargers, but there is also a very good chance that, Dalton, Cam, and Winston might not be starters.
Oh, I think that's very possible. And the thing is, I think the only one out of those 3 that surely is a starter is Dalton. Because I think there's a lot of questions with Winston and the turnovers. There's a lot of questions with Newton and the injury.
I think people forget on Andy Dalton, In his first 6 seasons, his worst record was 9-7, and that was his rookie year.
How many quarterbacks have went to the playoffs their first 5 seasons in the NFL?
Not many.
You know, I think it's like 1 or 2, and those guys are all Hall of Famers. And yeah, he didn't win any playoff games, but he was with the Bengals, which kind of limits your opportunity to win playoff games. I mean, in the 1 year they had the team that could have won, he gets injured and misses the last 3 or 4 games of the season. People forget up until then he was putting up MVP numbers, and that team was sitting as a number 2 seed. So I think people overlook Andy Dalton, and I think that they think too much of Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton's really talented, but Cam Newton's a guy that's got to be in a certain offense to be successful. And I think when you look at the Chargers, I don't know that offense fits, especially for him to do it that quickly. All
but
right,
can't you make the case that Cam Newton is the offense of the team he's on?
Yeah, and since I would make that case, Cam Newton hasn't won a Super Bowl because you don't win like that. And the thing is, they've got Austin Eckler, they've got a running game, they've got wide receivers. So what you need a quarterback in there that's smart enough to get the ball where it needs to be to win the game. And the problem with Cam Newton is Cam Newton has always been a front runner. If things are going great, Cam's fine. And I just think that I don't think Cam wants to distribute the ball. Yeah, he's the guy that on the basketball team wants to shoot the ball every time he touches it. And I just don't think he's a great leader. I think he's a front runner. And, I mean, I wouldn't touch Cam Newton on any football team I've got, no matter what the offense is. Was Sam just smiling?
No, I was going to say, I think Cam Newton could probably win a job out in the NFL. I think we'll see him starting before the end of the next season because we looked at how many injuries we had last year. I mean, we're talking about maybe a third in the NFL last year should not have been starting at the quarterback spot because of how bad they were. So if we get back to that situation again this coming season, I expect we'll see Cam Newton taking over a starting job somewhere.
Yeah, and this isn't a Kaepernick situation either, where nobody's blackballing Cam Newton. I think there's a fear.
It's not a Kaepernick situation because Kaepernick can play.
Okay,
I'll make that right now. I think Kaepernick's a better quarterback than what Cam Newton is.
I'm just talking about whatever reason that Colin Kaepernick's getting blackballed, he's not getting those phone calls that Cam Newton would when you see all of these injuries that Sam is talking about.
Well, the other thing you got with Cam Newton is he's coming off an injury, and he's going to want a lot of money.
Yeah, part of it's the money situation for both him and Jameis Winston, I think, because they're former #1 overall picks. Cam Newton's been an MVP in the past, and he's been to a Super Bowl. These are guys who don't want to take backup level money, really. So if you're looking at maybe finding a fit for him, it's also a bit of the contract situation. How little are you willing to take to end up on a team where you might not be the guaranteed starter?
Cam will never be in that situation because he is too much of a celebrity to be a backup anywhere. It's too much controversy. I don't see the same thing with Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston, he wouldn't be as outspoken or as much of a presence like Cam would be. I think Cam's going to have to wait until a starting job opens up. I can see Jameis getting signed in a competition type situation.
Yeah, but don't you think that right there with what you just said, Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick, even though it's different circumstances, the situation's kind of the same because, if you're bringing them in, they're the kind of guy that's going to want to be a starter, that's going to want to be the face of the franchise. Neither one of them is going to want to be a backup, and it makes it harder to bring somebody in when if you don't start them, you may have an issue with it.
Yeah, but I don't – Cam Newton wants to play football. Colin Kaepernick – from what he did last year at that workout and the little games he was playing about postponing it or moving a location, he don't want to play. That was a stunt. Well, he don't want to play football. He wants to be a martyr. He wants to be the martyr.
But how about
wants to play ball.
The NFL, though, in his defense, I mean, I think it was a stunt by the NFL also, Sam. I think both sides played each other.
Yeah, I think each side was trying to get leverage in that scenario. I don't know. Like, Cam Newton doesn't have to play Colin Kaepernick doesn't have to play in the NFL. And I don't think Colin Kaepernick was willing to go all out for the NFL. But at the same point, we have to understand from his point of view, the NFL has blackballed him, treated him somewhat unfairly. So why would you want to trust the NFL and stoop to their level on every scenario? Because you're not guaranteed anything, really.
Yeah, Sam or Anthony.
No, I don't really have a response to it about the whole
Oh.
Colin Kaepernick and everything else. I just think they're similar but different situations with Cam and Kaepernick.
All right, so we got a
And
question.
I do think Colin Kaepernick is a starting caliber quarterback in the league. I will say that if the league let him in,
Well,
or whether
he's probably not now.
he didn't look terrible during that workout.
I didn't think he looked good. I really didn't. From watching him play, or from watching him do that, if you just watch the footwork, the way he threw the ball,
Is he better than Mitchell Trubisky?
no,
Right.
not right now. No.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is a guy that hasn't played a competitive football game now in what, 4 years?
Yeah.
And when I watched that, this is the thing. He was throwing on air, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There were no defenders, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So if the workout, if he really wanted to play for a team, this is the way I took it. I didn't take it to all the things. I think all the things he did, he was just playing games with the NFL the way the NFL was him. But if he wants to go into that workout and make that a real workout, I mean, I work quarterbacks out all the time, and the stuff he did is stuff that you do with an 8th grader you're teaching how to play quarterback. I mean, there was nothing there that showed any kind of mobility where he's got to throw a guy open. I mean, they could have come out and played 7-on-7, and then maybe you could see a little bit more about him, but he didn't do that. He threw the ball on air. And I mean, most guys that are even any good high school quarterback could go out and look good doing that with the receivers they had there catching the ball for him. You know, so when I look at that, I mean, I don't think that he had any intention of playing in the NFL. I don't think he does. I think he's gotten enough mileage out of all this that he has enough money that he doesn't have to worry about it. And that's all right. I think he got screwed over, but it's the NFL. They screw over a lot of people we never even hear about, Anthony. So
right.
In the end, I would always take the side of him instead of the big corporation that we see screw players over all the time. But once again, I don't think he had any intention of playing.
Right.
I just don't. All right, we have a question because this is trending on Twitter, and we got @Raven68, and he wants to know who each one of us thinks is the greatest defense in NFL history. And we'll start off with Anthony. And don't be the 96 Cowboys.
2000 Ravens. And I don't know if I'm biased because I am from that era. I was alive for the 85 Bears. I was 2 years old, and I watched a lot of, film on them and all the network specials. But I just loved everything about the 2000 Ravens. That defense, Trent Dilfer's the quarterback. They had a couple of nice pieces on offense, but that defense was dominant.
All right, Sam, greatest defense of all time.
Well, I think you know where I'm probably going with this. I'm going to go with the Steelers, the steel curtain defense from the 1970s.
Which year?
Let's stick 75, 74. Let's stick with one of those two. But what were you saying? What were you thinking?
The greatest defense of all time was the 76 Steelers. It is not even close. The 76 Steelers, I know this because the Bengals were really good at that point. That defense killed them. But that Steelers team started off the year really rough. They had to win like the last 7 games to even make the playoffs to beat the Bengals out. And they ended up at one point, this defense, and this is a 14-game season, the 1976 Steel Curtain pitched 5 shutouts. And they didn't give up a touchdown for 22 straight quarters. And the thing that made this so impressive is the quarterback in 1976 for a lot of that playoff run was Mike Kruzik, who
I just saw that. Bradshaw only played in 8 games that year.
Yeah, Bradshaw played in 8 games, and if you look at it, Pittsburgh came to Cincinnati. This was the first game I ever attended as a Bengal fan. It set me up perfect for the rest of my life. But I'm 8 years old. And we get there, and it's like 60 degrees, and it's sunny. Bengals are playing the Steelers. Kruzak against Kenny Anderson. We feel pretty good about that. Nothing happens first half because both defenses were great defense. I mean, the 75 Bengals were 11-3. The 76 Bengals were 10-4. and the game's nothing at the half, or 3-0 Bengals at the half. The Bengals had a field goal. The temperature starts to drop like in the second quarter. Now, I don't know if you've seen the highlights of this game or anything, Sam, but in the second half, there was like 6 to 8 inches of snow that fell during the game. The Bengals have the lead 3-0, and the Bengals have the ball in the fourth quarter. Booby Clark fumbles the ball inside his own 10. Franco Harris, like 2 plays later, scores a touchdown. The Bengals end up losing to the Steelers 7-3. That Steelers team had Mike Kruzak, I think, starting that game also. They go to the playoffs, and they went to Baltimore, I believe, and they beat the Colts, who were the higher seed. And the Colts, so that was Burt Jones. They had a great defense. They had a great head coach, Ted Marchibroda, and they were the favorite in that game. And the Steelers were playing that game, I think, without Harris. It was either Harris or Blyer that was missing, and they blew out the Colts 40-14. The next week, they go to Oakland to play the Raiders. The Raiders did beat them 24-7, but they were playing the game without 4 of their main offensive players. But that defense, I think, just under the circumstances of, I mean, they were winning games like 7-3 or 7-0 or 6-0 almost every week. And everybody wants to play into the 74-75 Steelers defense because they won a world championship. But I think the 76 defense was even better. You couldn't run on them. You couldn't throw on them. And I know Anthony thinks, Deion Sanders is the greatest corner that ever lived. Correct, Anthony?
Yes, I do, actually.
And you're wrong.
Not taking anything away from Mel Blount.
It's Mel Blount, easily. Easily.
I love watching Mel Blount. I love going back and watching him play.
Yeah, I love watching that entire Steeler team and Steeler defense. And the great thing about the Steelers, and I hate to talk so glowingly of them because I hated them at the time, but it's something that when you watch them now, that's the team I would rather watch over any team. Because from 74 to 80, the way they won, 74-75, they won with defense. The Super Bowls were 16-6 against Minnesota, 21-17 against Dallas, and then you get to Super Bowls 13-14, and then their offense is through the roof, and they're scoring 35 points to beat the Dallas Cowboys, much like the New York Jets did last year in the regular season. And then they beat the Rams 31-19 in one of the great Super Bowls that I think I've ever seen that people overlook. So that Pittsburgh Steelers team, to me, they were just that good. In 75, it was the defense that was that good. And that Ravens defense, while they were good, I mean, when you look at it, Anthony, the competition that they played wasn't near as good as the competition the 75 Steelers are playing.
Yeah. I mean, what, the AFC in 2000, there was no Brady, or Brady was still, I think behind, Drew Bledsoe at that point?
No, Brady was, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you look at the playoff run for them, they beat a Raiders team that was really flawed with Rich Gannon, not a great running game. There wasn't the teams there. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers had to beat, I think, an 11-3.
But that defense carried that offense a lot.
Yeah, but you know what? They still had a great running back.
You bring up the Steelers, I get it, but look at that offense that the Steelers had in the 70s with Bradshaw, those receivers, Franco Harris, Rocky
you're missing the
right?
point. The 76 Steelers did not have most of those guys for most of that season. They played with Mike Kruzak at quarterback. They played a lot of that season.
Trent Dilfer.
There is a huge difference between Trent Dilfer and Mike Kruzak. But I guess, what do you know about Mike Kruzak, Steeler fan, Sam?
Enough to know that I didn't want him on the field when he could have had Terry Bradshaw. But
yeah, he was not very good. Trent Dilfer would have won the Super Bowl with the 76 Steelers. And the 76, I mean, I don't see that The Ravens beat a Giants team led by Kerry Collins in the Super Bowl.
And they pitched a shutout. If it wasn't for that, a kick return.
Well, and
that would have been the only defense to shut somebody out. It was a Kerry Collins-led Giants team, but it's still.
Well, I find it more impressive if you go back to 1974 that the Pittsburgh Steelers held the Minnesota Vikings to 6 points with multiple Hall of Famers on that offense. I mean, I think they held Minnesota like 70 or 80 yards of total offense in Super Bowl IX.
That's a Fran Tarkenton-led team that they ended up basically shutting out almost. You think about it, they only get 6 points in the whole game.
Yeah.
They intercepted Fran Tarkenton 3 times. He had 102 passing yards and 3 interceptions, and that was it. So
yeah, and they didn't run the ball for anything. And I think it might have been negative rushing yards, wasn't it?
I mean, I look at they had 18 rushing yards from Chuck Foreman, and that was it.
That's all the rushing yards. Foreman is an all-time great running back, Anthony, and they had an all-time great offensive line. Mick Tingelhoff, Ron Yari, they got like 3 Hall of Famers on the O-line. And Pittsburgh just battered them. And the other thing that Pittsburgh has is from 74 to 80, or really from 72 to 79 or 80, the Steelers were an all-time great defense. The Baltimore Ravens defense was great in 1 year. You know,
I don't know.
I'll also give you this. I believe the second greatest defense of all time was the 1969 Chiefs.
They had multiple Hall of Fame linebackers on that team, right?
Oh, the Chiefs, you had Bobby Bell, you had Buck Buchanan, Curly Culp, Willie Lanier, Emmett Thomas, Johnny Robinson, who just got in the Hall of Fame. And the thing that was really impressive is they beat the Minnesota Vikings. They only gave up 20 points in 3 playoff games. And the 3 playoff games were against the 3 best offenses in the league at that time. In the Super Bowl, they beat the Minnesota Vikings 23-7. And that was a Viking team that was averaging over 30 points a game. And they shut everybody down. For the season, they only gave up like 1,000 rushing yards and 2,000 passing yards. They only gave up 10 touchdowns. Or 16 touchdowns. I think it was 6 rushing, 10 passing. And they forced like 32 interceptions. And that was in like a 12-game season, Anthony.
I don't know. I'm looking at some of the stats for the greatest defenses of all time, and it's like you see the Ravens, you see the 76 Steelers, what they were able to accomplish. In a 9-game run, 5 shutouts?
Yeah. And there's never been a team
that 2000 Ravens, 28 combined points in 4 playoff games in the regular season, 11 touchdown passes, 27 picks, fewer than 10 points a game. But you could just look at the 85 Bears and 91 Eagles. There was a lot.
Well, what about the 77 Falcons? They may be the greatest defense of all time, but they were like a 8-6 team. And nobody remembers because they didn't even make the playoffs. That was where Jerry Glanville basically, earned these stripes. I mean, that's 77 Falcons defense. Numbers-wise, I don't know if there's anybody like them. I mean, they allowed 9 points per game. The Ravens gave 10. The Bears gave up 12. If you go yards allowed per game, I think Atlanta gave up like 30 less yards a game than the Ravens and the Bears defenses that you're talking about. Net yards per play, the Falcons give up 3 net yards per play. They averaged getting, I think it was 3 or 4 turnovers a game. I think it was like 3.5.
What about
that's well beyond. Huh?
04 Bills. That's one I completely forgot about.
But you can't look them up and then remember them.
Well, you need help. I need help.
But the 77 Falcons, nobody remembers. But the thing is, I mean, the Falcons in 1978 actually surprised everybody, made the playoffs. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Tim Mazzetti. The great thing about Tim Mazzetti was a barkeeper in Atlanta. I mean, he was basically a bartender, and they needed a kicker, and they held an open tryout, and he comes up and makes the team. And that season, I think he kicked like 5 game-winning field goals, a couple of them on Monday Night Football, and he became this big-ass folk hero. And then he kicked a game-winning field goal against Philadelphia. They go into Dallas and led Dallas for part of that game and actually only lost 27-20 to Dallas. And, of course, that's because the game was fixed for the Cowboys to win. Don't you roll your eyes at me, Anthony.
Oh, you can see me now. I forgot.
Yeah. How many times did your mom tell you that?
My eyes are actually bothering.
Don't you roll your eyes at me, Anthony.
A lot.
Okay. And, I mean, the 85 Bears deserve to be in a conversation. And if you're looking this stuff up, Anthony, you can look it up. The 1986 Bears defense, I think, had better stats than the 85 Bears.
The 86 Bears.
Yeah, I think the 86 Bears, it was either 86, 87, 88. They were still good. The difference was Jim McMahon was healthy most of 85, so they had a quarterback that could get things done. But they were still the number one defense in 1986. But they didn't win any Super Bowls after that. And a lot of that was just because Joe Gibbs and Bill Parcells.
I can't believe, some of these lists have the two Buddy Ryan defenses, the 85 Bears and the 91 Eagles in the top 5. Is Buddy Ryan the best defensive coordinator of all time?
No.
Who? Then who?
Who? The best defensive coordinator of all time? I don't know. What do you think, Sam? I think it's Bud Carson.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick.
I mean, Bud Carson built the Steelers defense. And like I said, that wasn't a defense that was just really good for a year or 2 or 3 years. That was a defense that was dominant for almost an entire decade. I mean,
it was about decades. About decades worth of dominance you talk about. It's just there was a whole scenario where usually we talk about this defense, this is 3 or 4 years. Even with Seattle this past decade, it was like 3 or 4 years of good play. But when you can actually build a defense for a full decade, for a full 10 years, I mean, that's pretty unique.
Yeah. I mean, who else would you throw on there for the defensive coordinators or throw into the conversation, Sam?
I don't really know because it's difficult to pick out sometimes the difference between defensive coordinators and sometimes just having a lot of star players together because sometimes that happens. Like you just get a lot of players in the draft and it works out well, but
I mean, I'm looking at one of your lists, Mike, and you have Buddy Ryan ahead of Bud Carson.
I know.
On your list.
I don't know why you bring. Yeah, but when was that list written?
Last year, April 14th. Almost a year ago.
I've obviously changed my mind. No, I think this. I think I bring it up because I think Bud Carson is usually forgotten when people bring up great defensive coordinators. I really do. I think Dick LeBeau could be on that list. I mean, LeBeau.
No, he's not, and I think he should be.
Yeah, because Dick LeBeau is a guy, if you look, 1988, that Bengals defense is what carried him into the Super Bowl. And that was the 49ers at the height of their peak, was probably 88 to 90. And they held the Niners 13 points up until the last 30 seconds of that game and really holding them to 20 for the game. I mean, you can't ask for more than that because the 49ers were basically running through everybody. They'd beaten the Bears 28 to 3. They beat the Vikings, I think, 38 to 9, something like that. They beat them back-to-back years where they beat them up bad. Another guy, and quit looking at my list because I don't have my list on me right now, but I think this. I think Bill Belichick has to be unquestioned the greatest defensive coordinator of all time.
You have Landry 1, Belichick 2. And then you have the Phillips, Wade and Bum 3.
Yeah. And I think this. When it comes to Landry and Belichick, it's according to what day you ask me, because I think they were the two most innovative guys defensively. And people forget about this with Landry, but the flex defense. I mean, he's the one that brought the flex defense in, where they basically, was it Randy White, the undersized lineman or undersized D lineman? They basically turned him into a hybrid between that and a linebacker, correct? They'd flex him like 2 to 3 yards off the ball. And what that would do was it would give him an angle, because if you're lined up head up on the center or head up on the guard, as soon as the ball's snapped, you guys got your hands on each other. But his thought was, if you move that nose tackle back a yard or two, it gives him room to work against somebody that may outweigh him by 50 or 60 pounds. That was a great move there. And you also look at what he did with the New York Football Giants in the late 50s. I mean, that was maybe the greatest coaching staff of all time.
All right, Lombardi, right?
Yeah, the offensive coordinator is Vince Lombardi. The defensive coordinator is Tom Landry. So, I mean, the thing that's really amazing there is the fact that the Giants, nobody ever thought maybe we should fire Steve Owens and hire Landry and Lombardi as our head coach. Because if they do that, the New York Giants may have been the dominant team for the last 40 years.
Vince Lombardi is buried a good 15 minutes away from where my wife grew up. That's
Okay.
definitely one cemetery site I'm going to visit.
Okay. You can dig him up, see if you can get him on the show.
On the Legend Show.
Yeah. But
Can I
yeah.
have like a seance?
Yeah, we do a seance. Sam can do that. He's got that Steelers stuff on. He's a Satanist. Oh. Is that what you need to get that on there? Can't believe in God if you're a Steelers fan.
I actually have a Joe Green jersey hanging up.
I don't. I did buy my son a Jack Lambert jersey when he was like 8 because he played linebacker and quarterback. And Jack Lambert, I always loved him. Not when he played, but like I said, afterwards you tend to like
You can
him.
appreciate it afterwards.
You know, I always hated Tom Landry until I read the biography about Tom Landry, which is one of the best biographies you can read about a football coach. Because he was
I have a copy of it. I have it.
And I'll tell you, there's a really good book. I forget what it's called.
I can understand 9 words in it.
Well, you're from Jersey. You can only pronounce 3 of them correctly. But another really good book, I forget the name of it, but the guy wrote it about those Giants teams that had Lombardi and, Landry as the assistant coaches. But, I mean, it was just amazing to have those 2 guys there because really, if I had to list the 10 greatest coaches of all time, those would be 2 of the guys I would put up there with Belichick. Chuck Noll would be the other one. I'm kissing way too much Steeler ass today.
I know. I'm loving it. You should do this more often.
We just got to bring up, old Steelers because I don't hold grudges anymore. But anything else you guys want to discuss?
I mean, it looks like New England, they're going to go with Jarrett Stidham.
I told you that 2 weeks ago, Anthony.
Well, it's looking more confirmed now.
Jeez, all right. I already gave you Brady to the Bucs like 2 weeks before anybody else talked about it. Stidham's going to be the quarterback in New England.
You're reading anything into this Antonio Brown working out with Lamar Jackson and his cousin, Hollywood Brown? Like, is that a foolish move for the Ravens if they entertained Antonio Brown?
Well, they're working out together right now?
Yeah, yesterday.
So are they living together now? You're supposed to be social distancing. They shouldn't be working out together.
Well, Antonio and Hollywood are cousins, so that makes sense.
Well, I didn't mean anything. I had a cousin come to my door the other day and knock on it. My son went out with a gun and said, "Step away from the door." Because you're not supposed to be intermingling with people right now. It's dangerous, Anthony. Haven't you read the news?
Well, if they're running routes, you're 6 feet away from the quarterback and the other receiver.
Yeah, but what if you get a droplet of spit or sweat on the ball and then you throw it back? Next thing you know, Lamar's got coronavirus. That's only helpful during the season right before they play the Bengals. Was that insensitive, Sam?
I mean, up in the air, 50-50.
Well, I wasn't saying I wanted him to be sick, just like for a day.
Yeah.
If it was a playoff game, I want him to be good, though, because Joe Burrow will light him up in the playoff game. What else you got, Anthony?
That's really it.
All right. And Bob on Twitter by direct messages says, tell Cervino to move over. I can't see a quarter of his face. There you go.
I got to move my camera tomorrow.
Or just move your head. All right. Anything else, Sam?
I mean, we pretty much got all of it. We're just kind of waiting now on the last free agent dominoes to fall.
Yeah. And have you heard anything about Cam Phillips, the wide receiver from the XFL? Either one of you?
Isn't he? I thought I heard him that he was going to be linked to the Texans.
Yeah, but you haven't heard anything else.
Here, I got him right here. It's Houston's beat writer, Aaron Wilson, is saying that the Dolphins and Bengals are both interested in him.
Yeah, that's why I was interested, because I heard the Bengals were talking to him. I think the kid could be really good.
But you throw him on Bengals depth chart, that's a lot of good receivers there, potentially. You get a lot of weapons for Joe Burrow.
Because if the season plays this year, the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Undefeated for the next decade, right?
No, I'm not a moron. They'll lose one game each year.
Oh, of course.
But it won't be to the Jets. All right, Anthony, anything else?
No, that's about it.
All right, Anthony, tell everybody where they can find the best fantasy football show on the internet.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru, and you can follow the show at the FF Face Off, and we can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms.
All right. And it looks like you guys are standing on phone books, and I'm not, so I need to move around where my camera is too. Sam, man, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Sam_Teets33. I'm constantly posting new articles and sports info there, so feel free to check that out.
All right, guys. There we go. Is that better? I don't know. I still look shorter than you guys. How tall are you, Sam?
I'm about 6 foot. Not that tall.
What's Anthony, about 5'4"?
5'10".
5'10"? Is that why you're using the bow flex? You're trying to stretch yourself when you lift your – do you guys want to watch that one more time today?
Oh, come on. I have more. I'll post more workout videos.
Post more. And then tomorrow, you can share it on the screen. You can show everybody what you do, and you can promote it. Maybe we can get Bowflex as a sponsor.
I don't normally train on the Bowflex. This is just because I can't get to the gym.
So what's your opinion on the Bowflex?
I like it. It actually, it's different. The resistance training is different, but it's not like weights. Nothing will ever be like training in the gym with weights.
Yeah. Plus, you got all those big mirrors at the gym. You can, pose and look cool, especially when you get your pump. Do you ever just walk by shorter guys that are really small and just kind of glare at them and kind of flex?
No.
Because you did
I'm
that
an
on
asshole.
the video.
I didn't even flex. I'm wearing long sleeves. What am I flexing?
Okay. I don't know. Sam, what was your opinion of the Bowflex video?
It did look like you're staring on the camera at the very end of that, Anthony.
Yeah, you were staring the camera down.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Got to get into the zone.
All right, guys. All I know is this. Bobby Sheridan from the Sheridan Report said you're maybe the sexiest man he's ever seen.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay. I was lying about that, of course. Because it was Sam and the beard that everybody likes.
Hey.
Don't you think that if we shaved the beard off of Sam, he'd look like he was 12?
I can guarantee that's what it would be like.
Yeah.
I know. That's why he beard.
That's why it's never happening.
He gets carded to go in to see a PG-13 movie if he doesn't have the beard. But, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Heck, we might do Saturday at 1 if you guys want to. Since we're under quarantine, we ain't got nothing else we can do, right?
Yeah.
Except for Anthony, who's still running to Walmart when we're supposed to be doing the show.
I went this morning, too.
So
they only allow you to buy so much.
So you just like to tempt fate?
Oh.
And I think like 3 weeks before any of this went down, I did warn everybody to buy some extra stuff.
We're not on nationwide lockdown yet. Everything's still open for the most part.
Yeah, but you're not able to get what you need. And if you ever go on nationwide lockdown, you only got enough for 3 days. Then you got an issue.
Yeah, well, how is that even going to work? People eat.
They said that if they do that, then it will be enforced by the military.
So what? They're going to drop off military food? Serious question. How is this going to work?
I would say that they've already got the troops. I mean, if you saw, they're bringing tanks into L.A. I could post that video on my Twitter. So everybody just needs to quit being stupid and keep their ass at home instead of running to Walmart every freaking day, Anthony. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, look, there's not much for us to do at this point. Let's just follow along and let's just do it for now. Get this over with. Hopefully, it will end in.
Yeah, because I really love
watching this video right now. That's kind of wild.
I love social distancing. I don't like being around people, anyways.
This is my usual routine, anyways. It hasn't changed much.
Right, same here. The only thing I can't do is go to the gym.
Yeah, I know. That's annoying me. That's the most annoying part.
That is me too. I drove past Planet Fitness yesterday, and it was empty. I just wanted to break in so I could just lift all by myself. Maybe in a week or two, we'll have a flex down on the show. What do you think? We'll take our shirts off.
It's called a pose down. Let's get it right.
No, it's called a flex down here in Indiana. Pose down are what girls do. Ain't that right, Sam? I like Sam. He always agrees with me. If he doesn't, he won't say it. He just giggles. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can follow me at Grueling Truth. You can hear all of our shows anywhere, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the grueling truth. So for now, for Sam Teets, Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the grueling truth, where the legends speak.